Welcome to the show, Casey.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. What is your sober date?
My sober date is July 23rd, 2022. So
July.
it'd be about 2.5 years almost of sobriety.
Yeah, you're getting there.
Yeah.
July 23rd?
Yes.
What was going on July 22nd?
I was in labor with my son, who's nearly 2.5 years old now. And he was born on his due date, which was July 23rd. And I was in the grip of addiction, in the middle of it, very much lost, confused, and didn't know where to turn. And I do have a 7-year-old as well that I was taking care of at the time. I was actually, a really good mom. I know everybody probably says this, but I was actually a really good mom. I never overdosed. My kids never seen me do anything. My baby boy came out very healthy, which I'm thankful for. Because sometimes people don't get so lucky, using while you're pregnant, it's not safe, at all. And it can be a lot of risks associated with it. And I was very lucky to have a healthy baby boy. He's very chunky. He's still very, very chunky. He's very smart, just like my other son. He's 7 years old. He's very, very smart. They're both redheads with freckles and green eyes. They're beautiful. But unfortunately, I was in the grips of addiction. So I've been sober longer than I was using for. I was using for about 1.5 years. So I've been sober longer than that now, which is great. But yeah.
So, what did you grew up in Massachusetts?
Yes, I grew up in Mass. Yep, in Plymouth.
In good old Plymouth.
Yeah.
How old were you when you discovered alcohol or like drinking?
I was about 14 when I first took a drink. I had an older boyfriend, and he kind of introduced me to it. All of his friends were obviously older. I was still in high school, so very impressionable, very naive. Thought that, I was cool, or like I was fitting in by drinking with them. I didn't have much friends in school, so kind of I was like, I'll do whatever, to fit in with these people because they were older, Yeah, that's when I started kind of with substances. It was mostly alcohol and like weed back then, but I kind of took like LSD and like Molly, MDMA once in a while throughout my teenage years. Not necessarily at 14, but like 16, 17. So yeah.
The last time I took acid, I was in Carver.
Yeah.
That was the last time I took acid. Living in Carver. That was probably, I don't know, 13, 14 years ago now.
Yeah. Wow.
Like that. Oh, wait. What year was that? 2010? Oh, yeah. 2011. Yeah, it was a solid 13, 14 years ago.
Wow.
And I went on a huge acid binge for a while.
Yeah.
As a way to escape. But the problem was you can't do acid every day.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
If you do, you want to end up in a mental institution.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely not abusable.
No. And then I found pills shortly after that.
Yeah.
So you were drinking and smoking weed in high school.
Yes.
So which is normal. I mean, to do that, especially if you have older friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
An older boyfriend.
Yeah. I was very impressionable at that age, and my mother knew about it and didn't really care or stop me. She's also a drug addict. I have 5 siblings, 4 sisters and 1 brother. All have used or are still using drugs at this point in time, unfortunately. And I'm the youngest, and I'm the only one with a different father. So I, being the youngest, who, I was looking up to them. Who did I really have as like a role model? If all of my older siblings and even my own mother were drinking, going to bars, doing coke, giving me pills, it was like I was bound. It was a very slim chance I was going to make it out of there sober, completely sober, because I was around it. And as much as I didn't want to be like them, as much of a bad influence I knew they were being, I still was too young to like, get ahead of it. And, when your sister is giving you your first line of coke and your brother's selling you your first Percocet and Adderall, it's like, where do you go from there? Who do you look up to? I had no friends, all my family was using. So it was kind of like, I was trapped and I was going to end up dealing with something, either mental illness or addiction or both in that type of environment. So,
Yeah, I was just going to ask. So you're the baby of six, or the
yes,
baby? Okay, so you're the baby of six.
yes,
What's the age difference between you and like the next one up?
2 years. And
Two
then it
years,
goes 2 years, 2 years, 2 years, 2 years. Yeah.
and they all have the same father, and then you have a different father.
Yes. My father is the only person in essentially my entire family and extended family that has never used drugs. Never. And he was around my whole life. And now that I am older, I've seen a lot more of his traits and his characteristics and his line of thinking in myself. And I just wish that he was more interactive with me when I was younger. He was a construction worker for a very long time. He made a lot of money. He was very book smart. He's the only person I know in my whole family and extended family that went to college. He's the only one that graduated high school. I graduated, thank God. But I'm very much like him now that, my brain's fully developed and I'm sober and I've been taking care of myself, going to therapy. Um, but he's the only one that didn't do any drugs. And I wish I had kind of been around him more than around my mom and my siblings. But when you're
Yeah, I was
younger, you
just
don't
going to
want to.
ask, but how much time did you spend with him growing up? Like weekends? Like,
He lived with us. He actually lived with us, but he worked a lot. So he was gone all day. And then he was very strict. And when you're a teenager, you don't like that. You don't understand why he needs to be that way. So you start to resent him. And I was always around my mother, who's very manipulative, very sneaky, she's very calculated and with the way she is. She's borderline narcissistic. Um, and I didn't see that. She was my mom. I wanted her to be right. I wanted to believe everything she was saying. She'd say these horrible things about my father that I believed to be true because I was young. I was impressionable. That was my mom. I spent all my time with her. I wanted to have my mom and be on her side. As I've gotten older, I realized none of that was true and she's crazy, but that's besides the point. So I kind of stuck more with my mom than with my dad because she kind of triangulated it to be that way because she didn't want me to have a closer bond with anybody but her, which is where the controlling aspect of her personality comes from. So it was more me being a teenager, not wanting to be disciplined, not wanting to listen to the rules and kind of straying away from him. Also him not being around as much because he worked and my mom triangulating that. So it's unfortunate that I didn't get to really absorb his behaviors and his characteristics earlier on because I feel like it would have saved a lot of heartbreak and confusion for the last like 10 years. But, here I am and it's made me who I am today. So I feel like everything happens for a reason. And I'm here, I'm alive, I'm breathing. So
how old are you
yeah.
now?
I just turned 26 in July 4th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
wish I would have gotten it at 26.
Yeah.
Sure,
When did you get clean?
I was the first time I got clean, I was 31.
Oh, okay.
And then and I haven't done opiates since then. So I'm 38 now.
Okay.
So, I was 32 technically. It was right along me in 31, 32.
Mhm.
But I haven't had opiates since 2018.
Okay.
And then I haven't had a sip of alcohol in 4.5 years.
Congratulations. That's a
And
hard one
then
to beat.
I haven't had weed or benzos in over 6 months.
Good for you.
So my recovery date in my opinion, is April 25th, 2018.
Okay.
But that's not a sober date or a clean date. It's my
Gotcha.
clean from opiates date. But
Understand.
it's
Okay.
when I first learned what recovery can be
Yeah.
and started going to meetings and actually paying attention and learning from people and going
Okay.
through the steps and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So when I relapsed on benzos last year, I knew what to do after I was done my relapse, which was go back into meetings again. And my home group is actually based out of Rhode Island. It's based out of Providence, Rhode Island.
What is it called?
NA in the day.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of that one, but I
Yeah,
know there is one
it's
out there. I
Zoom.
completely forget the name of it, but
Well, it's Zoom. It's Zoom NA.
oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a Zoom NA meeting every day, Monday through Friday at noon.
Okay.
And there's people from all over the country on that meeting, but it's based out of Providence, Rhode Island. And I've been going to that meeting for 5 months or so, and I do that every day at noon. Um, and I've had people on the show from Massachusetts. I had a guy on from Plymouth also. He is in his 60s and he's been sober and clean and sober for like 25 years now.
Wow,
Um,
that's amazing.
we talked for like almost 2 hours because he was filled with war stories.
Oh,
Um,
really?
so you had mentioned that you bought your first Percocet from your brother. How old were you when that happened?
Probably 19.
Okay, so this is post high school.
Yes, yes.
Okay, and when was the first time you tried coke?
Probably about the same age with
That's
my
when you
sister
started
giving
experimenting.
me. Yeah, my sister. I'm not gonna say any names. But
Yeah.
we'll call her H. She has 3 kids of her own and is very much into doing cocaine. Pretty much 24/7 whenever she can get her hands on it. And I hung out at her house a lot because she was my only sibling that lived in Plymouth with us. She lived in the projects right up the street from where I lived. And I didn't grow up with them. They were in foster care because my mother lost them when she was younger because of drugs. She didn't really fight for them, so they went to foster care, went to live with family. She didn't raise them. Um, Unfortunately, the only one she got to raise was me because she took off with my father away from them because I was originally born in Springfield. So they all lived out in Springfield. H moved to Plymouth to be closer to us with the 3 kids, to have help from my mom, me, to be closer, get reconnected with our mother because obviously she missed out her whole childhood hanging out with my mom and having a real mom. Um, and she lived in the projects, and it just wasn't good over there. She started doing coke just like she was doing back in Springfield, and I was hanging out with her. That was the only place I could hang out with my boyfriend because my mom and dad didn't want him at the house. So I'll go over there with him and we drink. And then, slowly my sister, I didn't really know what it was. I knew it was drugs. I knew it was coke, but I didn't know what it did. I didn't know. I was very naive when it came to stuff like that. And I was like, oh, let me try. Like, I just want to try. Like, and she finally gave me some. She was like, you can do this and then you can drink more. And then she's kind of like selling it to me almost, like giving me all the good parts of it and none of the bad. And then it became, I didn't start a habit right away the first time I tried it. Like I tried it, didn't really do much for me. Like I didn't feel it. Then I didn't do it for like a year, and then I would do it here and there. And I, then it started being, I wouldn't say a habit. It was a habit, but I didn't do it every day. It was like once a week, every 2 weeks. It was very sporadic towards the end when I was like full blown into addiction. But at first, it was like I didn't really care. I didn't look for drugs. It just, whenever they were there, I'd do them. I feel like that's kind of how a lot of people's story starts, is like you don't really look for it at first. It
You're
finds
not
you.
out there. You're not seeking it out every day.
Right, exactly. And then the first time that I had Percocet in general was when I was in the hospital. I have lower lumbar spondylolisthesis, if I pronounce that properly. It's a degenerative back, lower lumbar. It's basically lower lumbar arthritis, and you can pass it down. I believe my mother has it. My sister had to get surgery for it. Um, Basically we all have some sort of lower lumbar disease or issue, and mine was really 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 bad since the age of 11. I complained about it all the time. I have scoliosis. I have one hip that's higher than the other, which puts even more pressure on that lower lumbar disease. And it seemed like nobody wanted to check up on me, take me to the hospital, do anything about it when I was a child underage. So then when I turned about 16, I went to the hospital and they gave me Percocets and Oxycontin and ibuprofen to take. And then I was also given Oxy and ibuprofen when I had dental work done, which was about a year later. Then I had my first child at 17, and I had a C-section, so they gave me Percocet, Oxy, ibuprofen for that. During me having the baby, and then they gave me a full prescription for the days when I would go home. And then I had, you know, other one when I went to the hospital, like I was prescribed opiates from a doctor about 5 to 6 times before I was even 21 years old. Um, and then my brother selling me it was my first time somebody selling it to me where I wasn't having a prescription for it. Um, and it was then I remember the first time I had it from the hospital, I thought like I wish I could feel this way every day. And then, the couple of times where I got it from the doctor or bought it from my brother, it slowly but surely became a horrifying addiction for me.
Yeah, I know how that can go. And that first time of like when you feel it,
Yeah,
and you're chasing that sensation the entire time.
yeah,
Like I had like, 8 pills before, but it was something about this one fall night in 2008 where I really got high off of 2 perk 10s, and I was like, I just need to chase this and get this high every day and I'll be good.
yeah,
And I did that for a decade.
yeah.
You
Wow,
like literally 9.5 years
wow.
of just constant of just trying to get high as I did the first time.
Chasing the dragon. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
And
you
so
never will. You never will get high as the first time. That's how they get you. Is like you feel like, oh, this is gonna happen every time, and you're just like doing whatever your drug of choice is, but you're never gonna get that feeling the first time, pretty much ever again. And if you do, it's gonna be a one-off thing. It's not gonna. It's crazy. And
were you doing
yeah,
the blues?
um, yeah. So I was doing real Percocet. This was when I was a teenager. So this was like kind of right before, during ish the fentanyl thing. Um, I never did blues like the ones now. I was doing heroin and powder fentanyl. Um, I didn't know that the heroin was fentanyl when I was doing it. Some of it was real. Other times I knew it was towards the end. I knew it was fentanyl. I did not care because you just don't care when you're. I wanted to. I wanted to stay away from fentanyl. This is one of the reasons why I didn't overdose, and part of it
Well,
is
let's
me being
let's
lucky.
backtrack because I feel like we jumped into heroin and fentanyl. So you just give birth and now you're 19 and you have a 2-year-old, right?
Yes,
Am I following that right?
yes,
And now you're starting to experiment more when it comes to like drugs and all that.
yes.
And then you said you bought your first perk. Was it like a perk 10 for like $10?
I think it was fives. Yeah, I got a couple of fives. Yeah,
Okay, so a perk 5, which isn't, it's more Tylenol than anything.
yeah.
Um, so what made you decide to do that jump into like seeking them out?
Um, See, it was very gradual because I was with my child's father, and I didn't know anybody that like sold drugs like that. I I said before, I'm very naive on that kind of stuff. I mean, my siblings never really did stuff harder than like coke, crack. They really never. None of them did heroin. That's for sure. None of them ever did fentanyl. So it's like I couldn't like go to them to go get opiates. It wasn't. My brother really didn't even have stuff like that. It wasn't like he was a dealer or anything. He would have stuff randomly and just he wouldn't even really sell it. He'd just take it himself or give some to me or whatever. So I didn't really have any resources. But my kid's father, when I met him, he was an addict, but he was sober at the time. So he was sober about a year and a half, something like that, when I met him. But he had prior history with substance use. And while we were dating, he would kind of relapse on and off. And, we would drink together. And he came back from a relapse. He came back, and I was really like heartbroken with him leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. And I felt like he was leaving me for drugs every time. So I thought in my head, like maybe if the drugs are here, he won't leave. So I would get well, we would get drugs through his people that he knew. And it was like I tried heroin for the first time, and then I didn't try it again for like months. Like I didn't think about it, didn't try it, didn't care. And then I tried it again with him, and it kind of, I didn't really know. I was naive. I didn't know that you could get physical withdrawals from it. I didn't know that you could get sick from not taking it. I didn't know really anything. I wasn't even really knowledgeable on how like overdose happens. Like I was very young, very naive.
Were you
So we,
snorting it?
yes, at first we were snorting it, yes. And we did it one day, and then I was like, oh, that helped me sleep. Like I have really, still to this day, I take melatonin to help me sleep, and I'll drink like sleepy time tea, and I still can't fall asleep. So I had really bad trouble falling asleep. So it would help me sleep. It would calm me down. It would make it so I could get up in the morning, do what I need to do, not be in constant pain, not feel constant depression, not feel constant anxiety. It like gave me life. That's what it felt like, a warm hug, breathing life into me so I could function. It stopped me drinking alcohol, which I hated doing, but it was the only thing, again, that made me feel like I could get up and, exist in society. So we did it, and then it was like, oh, it really helped me sleep. Like, let's do it again today. And then it ended up being like every day to every other day, and then every day again. And it was like, I didn't really even notice what was happening before it was too late. And then about 2 weeks into it, I was like, I don't want to spend this money or do this. Like, let's just not. Like, I don't want to buy any tonight. And then I couldn't sleep all night. I got physical withdrawals, and I was like, wait a minute. I was confused on why I was feeling that way. I didn't put two and two together at first. I was like, why do I feel so like sick? Like, why do I feel I can't sleep? Like my legs are moving. I feel crappy. But then I like realized that it was because I didn't have any. And I was like, I don't want to feel like that ever again. Like I need to sleep. I need to be up with my kid in the morning. So then it became an everyday thing. And it just kind of happened so quickly that like I didn't realize what was going on until it was too late, and I was in the midst of an addiction.
So, and you're not the first person. I remember the first time I went through withdrawals, I didn't know I was going through withdrawals. I thought like I was legitimately sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought I was really just sick.
Yeah.
And I know that feeling of, okay, well, I don't want that feeling again, so I just got to figure out a way to stay high the entire time.
Yep.
Did you ever use a needle?
Yes. Yeah. Towards the end. Yeah.
Towards the end?
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, I never in my life thought I would do that. Never. Never. Even now, I was just talking about this earlier. Even now, getting blood work done, I have a full-blown PTSD, panic attack, crying, sweating, shaking, like screaming, crying. It's awful. Like it's so bad. I don't even like thinking about. I think back and I'm like, how was I doing that? Like I don't know. That was a step that like I never thought I would take, but I feel like so many people, I work in recovery too, and so many people say the same thing. Like I never thought that I would go to a needle, like, and one day it just happens like that. It just happens so quickly. I don't know. But yeah, towards the end I was using needles. And yeah, it was horrifying. Really, really bad.
Is that when you were pregnant?
Yes, unfortunately. Yeah.
And so you've never tried to get sober before. This is your first time getting sober. It's been
Yes,
2.5 years almost.
first and last time. First and only and last time.
And what makes it so much that it's sticking this time?
The day I got clean, I just have not thought about using since then. I'm very resilient. I'm a very resilient person. And I looked at the end goal of me having my own place, my own car, my kids back, a really good job, money in my pocket. And I just kept that vision in my head for the last 2.5 years. I've been through more traumatic stuff in the last 2.5 years than before then. And I still made it through sober. I still didn't think about using. And, that's not to say like, I have a bad day sometimes and I think about, maybe not wanting to be here anymore. Like, but it's a miracle that I have not thought about using since that day. And it has a lot to do with my son being born, me already having a child. I think towards the end of my addiction, I didn't even want to use anymore. I wanted to get clean, but I didn't know how. And me having that baby, which I wasn't even supposed to be able to have another child. Like that's why this baby was like a miracle baby, because I wasn't even like supposed to be able to physically get pregnant. And I got pregnant with him after I had already started using. I was trying to have a baby for a year. I couldn't have a baby. I was told I couldn't have children, and which was really horrible for me because I want a lot of kids. And then I started using. As soon as I started using, I got pregnant. I was like, this is crazy. Like, but yeah.
Is that the same dad?
Yes. Yeah. Same father.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now, do you still have them in your life?
He unfortunately, we both got clean together that day, July 23rd. I went into a coma because the birth was very traumatic. I had postpartum hemorrhaging. I had to get 8 quarts of blood, which is a lot of blood. And I almost died in childbirth, and I was in a coma. While I was in the coma, he got physical withdrawals. He got sick. And I woke up from the coma. He was already downstairs in detox because they had already been talking to him about, like, you need to get clean or you're not going to bring this child home. Like, you guys are done. You either need to get clean right now or that's it. So he went through the detox process. When I woke up, I went through the detox process a couple days after being in the hospital. But me and him stayed clean together for the first almost year. It was about 10 months we stayed clean. We were in the same kind of facility. There was a men's program and a women's program. He was at the men's, I was at the women's. We were doing really, really well, like really well together. But then unfortunately, right before I celebrated my year clean, he relapsed and left the program. And every time, he's relapsed, I have zero contact with him. Unfortunately, he's in a relapse right now, so I don't speak to him. But it's unfortunate because when me and him got clean together for that time after we had our son, that wasn't even his first time. That was one of many times he's tried. He struggled with it a lot longer than I did. 13 years about now. He's a little bit older than me. He's about 31, 30, about to be 32. So he has struggled with it a lot longer than me. Some people, it's very, very hard for them. And he's one of those people that has, comorbid. So he's, dual diagnosis. He has a lot of other things he's got going on, and it's harder for him to get clean. And I feel for that, but I just cannot put myself around that because I'm putting myself at risk. So I've had to make the unfortunate decision of not speaking to him.
Where are
And
your kids at?
my kids are with my mom right now, unfortunately, which is why it's 2.5 years later and I still don't have them, because she doesn't like that I got clean and did something she couldn't do. She doesn't like the fact that I'm fighting for my kids. She's jealous of my apartment, my car. She's jealous of everything. And she's very narcissistic, and she just makes up lies. But I have a terrible lawyer right now. I can't really talk too much about the case, but I have a terrible lawyer that's being worked on. And if I had a good lawyer, this case would have been over with a year ago, because the only thing they keep holding against me is that my kid's father is relapsing and not getting clean. But I have nothing to do with that. So court has been, like, in this specific district very all over the place because of COVID. They're still backed up and they're like not taking cases seriously and dragging them on. So I'm supposed to have court on October 22nd. I have so much evidence, so much letters from people. I mean, my own landlord, my employer, my neighbors, like, are writing letters about character witnesses saying, like, I'm this amazing person. And I bring those things to court and they're just like, they won't look at it. They won't read it. They won't talk about it. They'll just talk about whatever my mom makes up as a lie. So it's very difficult without proper representation. And I'm not allowed to speak. So I have to wait for trial, which should be happening before the end of the year. And the goal has been reunification the whole time. I've done everything right. DCF is even on my side, which is insane because DCF is never on anybody's side. They're actually on my side and want me to get my kids back. It's the judge and my children's lawyer who is not looking at my side of it. They're just listening to whatever BS my mom has to say that week.
So you have 2 kids?
Yes, 2 kids, 2 boys.
And you still see them though?
Yes, I see them every week. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be more than that after 2.5 years. They should be sleeping over. I have a 3-bedroom apartment. If I knew my kids wouldn't be allowed to come here, I wouldn't be paying $1,800 a month to be here. I would be saving money in a 1-bedroom somewhere or stayed at the sober house. I've been in this apartment almost a year. It'll be a year in January, and my kids have been here once. I haven't done anything wrong. I haven't done nothing wrong. And it's crazy because I see people, I hate comparing. Comparison is like, it really will mess with your head. But I work in recovery and I see people that have been clean for 6 months get their kids back, like full time. People that are clean for a year that aren't even really clean, they're just lying and giving fake pee for drug tests, getting their kids back with no question. Like, why has it taken 2.5 years? But I haven't done a single thing wrong. I haven't gone a single step back. All I've done is succeed. Like, and it's I don't know. It's crazy. It's insane. I don't know. I need proper representation. That's where it lies. It's the opposing team can say and do whatever they want as opposed to like fabrications and lies. That part doesn't really matter. The part that matters is my representation to call out those lies and be able to defend me against them. And that's not happening right now.
Is that one of the things that, like, traumatic events that have happened in the last 2.5 years?
That is one of them. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's not an easy thing to go through, is losing your kids like that.
Especially when I'm doing all of this. Like I did it for me so that I could be a clean person, because you have to do it for yourself. Even your own kids, you can't do it for them because you never know. Like, you have to do it for you. I did it for me. 2.5 years later, now it's to the point where, like, I've done it for me. I'm trying to get my kids back. This is the whole point of all of this, if I knew I wouldn't have them for 2.5 years, I would have went to college or something, like gotten a degree by now. I am starting college January 22nd at Bristol Community College, but because I finally was like, I just have to do it, but 2.5 years, I could have accomplished a lot in 2.5 years if I didn't think every other month that my kids were about to come home. My lawyer has told me every court date, they're going to come home. Don't worry, you're almost there. I've been almost there for 2.5 years. I finished the DCF action plan a year ago. And I've been in an apartment where the kids could stay and sleep over for a year now. I've had my own car since last May. Like, there's nothing else that they could ask me to do. I've done all the parenting classes. I've done, like, I went to the Recovery Coach Academy. I work in recovery. I do volunteering. There's not much more they could ask me to do. I quit smoking cigarettes. I got off MATs. I see a therapist once a week, every week for the last 2.5 years. I see a doctor. Like, exactly the way that recovery is laid out for people, I did it that exact way. I did everything right. And it's like, there's not much more they could hold against me at all.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're literally doing everything that you can.
Yeah.
Like, even like to quit smoking and the mat.
Yeah.
What kind of mat were you on?
I started on methadone, unfortunately. No, nothing against anybody that does methadone. Some people need it. They started me on methadone. They didn't give me a warning of what it was or what it would do or what it would entail. They put me up very quickly. And mind you, when I got clean, I was 87 pounds. 87 pounds. I was on 160 milligrams of methadone within a couple of weeks. I had my head between my knees all day, every day. I could not stay awake for the life of me. I gained weight very, very quickly. I was eating super unhealthy. I was sluggish. I was tired. I was in a daze. I was more high on methadone than I ever got high on heroin and fentanyl. That's 100% true. I was on it for about 5-6 months. I didn't see how it was helping me. I didn't see how it was helping me do anything because I could not even, I felt like I was sleeping even though I was awake. I started to realize very quickly that, because I talked to my counselor and my case manager at the clinic, I said, I don't feel like this is working for me. I want to get off. She's like, well, that's going to take you like 2.5 years. I was like, no, it's not, because I'm built different and I'm going to get off of it if I want to get off of it. I'm very tough, very strong, very resilient. She was like, you have to go down like 1 milligram a week. You're not going to be able to do it. You're going to get sick. Like, trying to like make it like it wasn't my choice. And like, I'm not allowed to get off of it, which I know now later on, it's because of the money, the insurance, but we're not going to get into that. So I told her, no, I want to go down 10 milligrams a week. I don't care how sick I get. I don't want to be on this anymore. She said, you have to sign an against the doctor's order piece of paper. Because if you get sick or something happens, it's not our fault because you forced us to do this, basically. So me going down off of my methadone was against the doctor's orders, which I found very strange. Because why wouldn't you want me to get off it if I want to get
That's
off of
the
it?
problem with Matt. And I completely agree that Matt
Mhm.
does do wonders for people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it keeps you sick for longer.
Yeah.
Nobody
Yeah.
You're prescribed one full strip of like I'm blanking on the name. Um
Suboxone.
Suboxone.
Yeah.
Most people are prescribed an entire strip a day.
Some are
Like,
prescribed 4 a day.
yeah, which is just insane.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody needs that amount. I don't care who you are. I don't care. Nobody, if you need that much, you should have a plan of like maybe tapering down because every day for like years is not necessary to take that much. It's just not.
no,
And it rots your teeth. It has so many bad side effects that they refuse to tell people about and they deny and say it's a myth. It's not a myth because I see it every day. I
yeah,
have
there's
clients that
lawsuits
have
against.
no teeth left because of
Yeah.
Suboxone.
Yep. I only did so the one time I tried to get clean, I came up to Massachusetts. I was living in Jersey where I was using, and I was figuring I'm gonna go back up to Carver and I'm gonna dry out and get cleaned up and stay with my parents, start working at Best. I worked at Best Buy in the Kingston Mall. And I was go back to work with all my buddies. And so I came back up and I brought with me 4 of the Suboxone orange tablets.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing like 8 to 10 30 milligram oxy a day.
Wow.
And I came back up and I had 4 total with me. And I broke them into pieces. And I only took a piece when I started feeling shitty.
Mm-hmm.
If I started withdrawing, I would take it like a little eighth of a piece or a quarter of a piece.
You didn't get precipitated withdrawal?
Nope,
That's very surprising. Wow.
nope. And I think, like you said, you're resilient. Like it was kind of mind over matter, also.
Yeah. See,
Like,
when they put me down 10 milligrams a week, I was off. You say 160, right? I was at 160, went down 10 milligrams a week. I was off within 2-3 months. They told me 2.5 years it would have taken me to get off. And I wasn't sick the whole time. Like it was something I was telling people about this that were also in the clinic. They were like, there's no way. Like I went down a milligram and felt it instantly. I didn't feel anything. And then my last day, I was down to 5 milligrams. I was supposed to wait another week or two. But I just jumped right off. I didn't go to the clinic. I jumped right off. Was already had set up to go to Suboxone. And my doctor, I told her, I was like, I didn't go to the clinic today. I'm done. She's like, all right, wait 4 days and then you can take the Suboxone. Take a little piece, go slow and steady. I did exactly that. I didn't feel sick for not even a minute during those 4 days. I didn't feel sick when I took the Suboxone, and I went from one to the other like it was nothing. I was actually her first patient to go from methadone to Suboxone. Usually it's the other way around because you don't get sick the other way around. You're supposed to, most people do get violently ill going from methadone to Suboxone because it rips it off the receptors. But again, it was like a miracle. I didn't get sick. And then I was on Suboxone all the way, probably about another 6 months. Then I went to the Sublocade shot, the shot that you get in your stomach.
yep.
And I was on that for a little over a year, and I just stopped about 2.5 months ago. It will slowly dissipate out of my system. I won't get any withdrawals. And then that's it. I'm done. Like I'm so happy because in the midst of that methadone thing, I was like, I'm stuck. Like I'm hearing horror stories. I'm on Reddit scrolling, people saying, don't do it, don't get off, don't go down too much, go down 1 milligram, even less than that. You're going to feel sick. All these horror stories of being on methadone and being trapped. And I was terrified, but I was like, you know what? I got clean. Like I can do this. If I got clean, something I that's hard, that is an epidemic right now. It's the leading cause of death for people between 18 and 45 is heroin overdose or fentanyl overdose. And I survived that. I can get through this too. Like I can do this. And I did
Yeah,
that.
it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's going to
Yeah.
be uncomfortable for a little
Yeah.
bit, but
Yeah.
it's supposed to be. You know what I mean? Almost like you
Yeah.
made your bed.
Hmm.
Like when I got clean in 6 years ago, when I went from I was from South Jersey and I was living in Pennsylvania, and I was driving a hour to 2 hours each way to get pills almost every day. And when I went to rehab, it was my choice to go to rehab, and I found one in Los Angeles, and I went across the country for rehab. And I got there, and they're like, "Well, do you want Suboxone? You know, how many were you doing a day?" And I was like, "Yeah, 200 to 300 milligrams a day." And they were like, "Okay, so you want Suboxone?" And I said, "No." They're like, "Well, why not? It's going to be you're going to be really uncomfortable." And I was like, "Good. I don't want to be back here again." I was like, "It's supposed to hurt." I was like, "I want to remember that hurt for
Yeah.
me to do this again because I
Yeah.
don't have to feel this kind of pain again."
I say it all the time. Like, I never want to feel like that's another thing that kept me from relapsing. Like, I never want to feel the pain of withdrawing ever again. Like, ever. The whole time I was using it was like I could never get ahead. It was like every day I would get sick and then finally get something. And like it was just a cycle of abusing myself mentally and physically, especially being pregnant and going through withdrawals. That's what especially kept me on the hook of like, I just need to do this so I can feel better, so I'm not sick, so I can actually eat, so I can have a healthy pregnancy. That
So you were
made it.
87 pounds and pregnant?
I was 93 pounds. The baby was 8 pounds. So almost 8 pounds, like 7 pounds, 8 ounces, something like that. So I was 87 pounds. Yeah. Yeah.
That's a small frame to
Yes. You
have a
seen
full
that
size
picture that
baby.
I put up. I was very, very tiny.
Yeah, you'll have
Yeah.
to send me that again. This way I can, because I don't, I don't save pictures. But
Yeah.
your picture did grab my attention. That's what made me comment saying, "Hey, I got to hear your story."
That's
Um,
actually the second time I made a post like that. The first time I made a post like that was on the Fall River page. And that actually got the attention of a news reporter. And I have an article in the Fall River Reporter about my story. And that's actually how I got my apartment, was because my landlord saw that story and was touched by it and helped me get into an apartment with no hassle, no crazy, nothing. Helped me get some moving cost assistance. So they paid for like first, last, and security. And I was looking for a landlord or some type of housing assistance forever, like for the whole time I was in recovery, like inside the residentials and sober house. I was looking for anything because I wanted my kids back as soon as possible. Couldn't find nothing, like nothing. It was always had lead, or it was like too much, or they wanted a credit report. It was too small of a place, or it was too expensive. He got rid of all that crazy stuff, said you can move in January 1st, pay me what you can every month. Like, took a loss for me to be able to live somewhere because he wanted me to reunite with my family, because my story was so different than the other ones that he's read and kind of seen. He actually owns a men's sober house as well, so he sees firsthand kind of, and I stood out to him, and my story and my pictures caught his eye, and that's, I owe him my life because he is the reason I'm here today in this apartment, with my own place. It's the first time I've ever had my own place, sober and normal. And I owe him my life, honestly. He's been a big, big part of my recovery as well since I moved in here. Um, when I was in between jobs, he gave me a job at his office as a bookkeeper. I still help him once a week with cleaning and stuff. Anytime I need help or advice or anything, I go to him, and he's like a dad to me, honestly. He's like a father to me.
that's incredible.
Yeah, he's very, very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And putting yourself out there is not an easy thing to do.
I almost didn't do it. And if I didn't, my whole trajectory of my life would have changed. Like, I wouldn't have nothing that I have right now. Maybe I would have got it later on, but the way things happened are exactly the way they should have happened. And me pressing that post button changed my life. I mean, I got the attention of a news report. Like, what, ex junkie can say that, you know what I mean? Like, it was an exciting thing for me. I was like, me, like, even getting a job in recovery, I was like, me, like, I had imposter syndrome. I was like, the girl who was just like on drugs like 2.5 years ago is like now gonna help other people. at first I'm like, can I really do this? Like, I'm like, even though I got this certification and I knew what I was doing, like, I'm very good at what I do. But I was still like, oh my God, like, is this really me? Like, dressing all professional, going to help other people. Like, and now it's natural to me. This is what I was meant to do. And this is why I went through what I went through so I could get to where I'm at right now.
Yeah, no, you're exactly. What are you going back to school for?
I'm going to get my master's in social work and a certificate in substance abuse disorder, counseling rather. But I start in January. I'm going to Bristol Community College. Um, I want to put out there too that there's this program called Mastery Connect for anybody that lives in Massachusetts. If you are over the age of 25 and you have never been to college, you never got a degree, they will pay for you. The government, the state will pay for you to go to college for free. They pay tuition, books, everything that you could possibly need to get a degree. And you can go to either UMass Dartmouth or Bristol Community College. So that's actually what I'm going through right now, to be able to get my degree for free. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to get one. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't know about that. I wish
yeah,
Pennsylvania had something like that because I've been thinking about going back to school to be a therapist.
yeah.
And I started school actually going to Quincy. That
Quincy
was
College.
yeah.
Yeah, in Plymouth. Yeah.
Yep, the one in Plymouth. It used to be when I first started going there, it was located right in downtown Plymouth.
Like near the bank.
Near where Sam Diego's is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh,
You know
really?
you know where Sam Diego's is?
Yeah. They're closed now, but yeah.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Right down that hill, if you're going towards like the bottom part of downtown area with the harbor, there's an old library. And that's
Okay.
where Quincy and Plymouth used to be. Now it's over up on 3A,
Yeah. Yeah. Near the old Walmart. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Now
Yep.
it's up there. But yeah, originally this was 20 years ago
Yeah.
when it was 19 years ago when I first started going there. And I wasn't a big I was a big drinker then, and I smoked a lot of weed then. And I actually went to rehab that, taught you how to use weed as a medicine.
Yeah.
And it was called High Sobriety.
Oh.
And that was a sober living that I lived in. And we were allowed to have weed, and we weren't allowed to have flower weed, but we were allowed to have like edibles or tinctures. And
Oh, really?
it's like the first one in the country. And that's actually why I went all the way out to Los Angeles. But when my dad passed away last year, I kind of went overboard with smoking weed, and I would just smoke all day, every day.
Weed gives
And
me super bad anxiety. I haven't smoked since I was probably like 19, just about 18, 19. Gave me such bad anxiety. I couldn't do it anymore. I used to smoke all day, every day. Like I was all day, every day. I think I outsmoked myself is the problem. I smoked too much and I was smoking Frontos and stuff, like being crazy. And like I smoked from 14 every day pretty much until when I stopped. And then one day I just like anxiety attack. And then I tried to smoke anxiety attack. So I just stopped. I couldn't do it.
yeah, no, I could. And I had relapsed with benzos. I have a psychiatrist, and I manipulated him into giving me Ativan, and then
Oh,
I abused the Ativan. And instead of like dropping me, taking me off of that, he then put me on Valium. So then I started abusing that and snorting that and getting
mm,
high on that. But yeah, now I got like April 1st is my new sober date from weed and benzos. And
wow.
I still consider my other sobriety dates that we talked about of
Yeah.
2018 and 2020 when I quit drinking.
Yeah.
Because you're completely sober or clean and sober. You don't drink or do anything.
Nothing. No, nothing. Except I vape. I quit smoking cigarettes. It was a year in January. Wow, it's almost been 2 years now. Jeez, time goes by so quick. Wow. It's almost been 2 years now in January. But I vape, and that's my only vice that I have, besides being a workaholic. I work a lot, and I let the jobs I have, push me around a lot because I love working and I love making money. So that's kind of my new obsession is work and vaping.
Yeah. Isn't like vaping going to be like become illegal in Massachusetts?
It already is, but I'm in Fall River, so I'm on the border of Tiverton. So all I got to do is drive like 2 minutes and get them. So
Okay, that's what I thought. I could have
yeah,
swore vaping was becoming illegal in
it's
Massachusetts.
not illegal to vape, but it's illegal to have flavors. I don't know if they're doing a new thing where it's going to be completely illegal. I haven't really read anything about that, but it is currently illegal to have flavored vapes being sold or distributed.
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. And you
yeah.
can't even like buy from other states to have them get shipped in, like they won't ship to
Nope. No,
Massachusetts.
they won't. Yep. That's why I'm
Yeah.
glad I live like where I live because, people in Plymouth, like my mom, she vapes, she can't get any out there. So I buy them and go bring them to her, which I don't know if that's illegal, but I'm
You're doing
gifted,
yeah.
right?
You're trafficking vapes.
Right? That'd be crazy. Same thing with menthol cigarettes. No such thing as those either in Mass. So people are like went crazy when that happened. People will drive like hours. Like I've heard of people driving 2 hours to Connecticut, 2 hours to New Hampshire to go get menthol cigarettes because they can't handle like regular cigarettes. But yeah.
That is crazy. They banned menthol cigarettes in an
Which is
entire
weird
state.
because like there's flavored alcohol. Like, and if they
Yeah,
say the flavors attract kids, but like what about the flavored alcohol that's like birthday cake flavor, like UV
I,
cake, like
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, exactly. There's so many different kinds of vodkas out there.
Right. And there's kid flavors like cotton candy, like it I don't know, man. I was like 16 drinking UV Boo and Four Locos. Like if vapes are the problem because it's flavored, why wouldn't alcohol also not be an issue? Like I don't know. They make up stupid laws sometimes that just don't make sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, alcohol was one of my downfalls. I started drinking at 11.
Wow.
So, to be 4.5 years without a drink
That
is something that I never thought that I would be sitting here and saying.
Yeah, you should definitely be proud of that. Especially people that start so young. It's harder the longer you're doing it to quit. I mean, there's so many people in, the rooms of AA, NA, so many clients I have, so many people that are at the recovery centers that are older because they've been doing it for so long. It's harder for them to get clean because they might be my age, 26. Oh, I'm only 26. I can keep going for a little bit longer. Then before they know it, they're in their 60s, 70s, still drinking. And the longer they do it, now they're like, oh, I'm already 70. Might as well just do it until I die. The longer that you're on something, the harder it is to get off. So I applaud you for that. I mean, 11 is difficult because you're so impressionable at that age where it's like
Yeah.
whatever you're doing in that time, if you're doing it, it's going to stick with you for a while. So you should be really, really, really proud of yourself for that.
Oh no, I am, because alcohol is so like in your face. It's still on my Facebook ads. Like, you
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I'm scrolling through Facebook, I'll get an ad for this like Smirnoff or whatever kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I keep on having to like click the thing saying this ad does not appeal to me.
Yeah.
This way they stop showing me those kinds of ads
Yeah.
because I don't want to be tempted into drinking again.
I feel like that's a hard one too because like any parties your friends might have or New Year's, Christmas, Thanksgiving, like 4th of July, like pretty much every holiday, like is surrounded with most modern people with alcohol, whether it be champagne, wine, beer. Like it's always included in that. And it's hard to like still find things to go out and do with friends that don't include that. That's why the recovery center they have bowling, they have hiking, they have dances, like Halloween dances and stuff. Like they do so many activities to keep people with hobbies, keep people doing stuff. Like not everything has to be an outing to go get liquor. Like not every party has to be involving Molly. You know what I mean? We just had a sober rave a couple weeks back, like with glow sticks and all. We had a DJ, everything like glow in the dark balloons, and we were all sober and dancing and having fun. And it's like it's hard with alcohol because there's not many outings that you'll find that people aren't doing that. And there's liquor stores on every corner. So that's people that are, in the grips of alcohol addiction that get clean. I applaud them, especially because of the physical withdrawals. It's so much harder even than heroin because it can kill you, just like benzo withdrawals. It can kill you. Heroin withdrawals may feel like you're gonna die, but
But
you're not gonna.
yeah,
Alcohol, you very well can, very
yeah,
easily. So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I quit benzos cold turkey. I don't recommend it to anybody.
I tried to have one of my friends do it in my house many years ago, and he had a seizure on my floor. And I never really messed around with benzos here and there. I always woke up in a police station, so I never wanted to do it again. Um, yeah, so I never did it, but I had close friends that did, and they never were having a good time on them. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, it was definitely a depressant, but thank you, Casey, for coming on and sharing your story. I definitely
of
appreciated
course.
it.
Yeah,
I'm hoping that by the time I talk to you again, you have closer of a chance to have your kids back in your life full
me
time
too.
again,
Yeah, me too.
because they're at that age now.
It just takes time. I know I'm gonna have my children back. It's just taking longer than it should, and I just give it to God every day. I just put it in His hands because I can't control anything right now. I know that I've done everything I can do to make it happen. All that's waiting on is people to see that. So
Yeah, no, I think you're doing a great job.
thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.